welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. You picked quite a video to join in on. This is just going to be a little chatty Q&A vlog while I'm wrapping Christmas presents because, guys, I have so much to do. I have family coming for the holidays, and then my husband deploys literally like 2 or 3 days after Christmas. So we got lots of stuff to get ready, and my husband took the girls for a giant grocery haul before everybody gets here. The baby is napping, so I'm trying to finish up all the rest of the wrapping presents because my family's gonna have to do some when they get here. So just be good to get all of ours out of the way. So yeah, that's what's going on. I do have a notebook somewhere if I can find it because y'all asked me some questions and I'm going to do my best to answer those. So yeah. Also, does anybody else just love wrapping presents? Normally I listen to Christmas music and I would love to do that right now, but I don't want to wake the baby. So thankfully just my voice will not wake her because she has a noise machine in her room, but you know, music is a lot louder than just my natural voice. So that's why we're doing this vlog instead. Okay, so the first questions come from the Metal Gladiator. What's up, bro? Thanks for asking me questions. His first question is, which do you most camp the least? I would say you. I most camp the least you. Metal Gladiator. I can't wait, guys, in case you didn't know. I always like move my, and I want to click my, it's a good thing my husband loves me, right? Hi, Bella. Hi, Bella. You guys don't normally get to see the puppy. Hey. I'm trying to do things right now. Okay, his second question though was, what is your ranking of all the Chronicles of Narnia book? Dog, you have to get out of my way so I can wrap the gifts. So, Chronicles of Narnia, this is a really good one, honestly, because what do I want to wrap this in? See, I'm too distracted while trying to do this. Here, I'll do some of this. I'll show you guys all my, isn't this pretty? So pretty. Okay. So, Chronicles of Narnia. I have not read the whole series in a while, so I will say that. I don't know if my ranking is going to change once I finish going through the series with my girls. We're almost done with the Dawn Treader, which I'm really hoping to try to finish up before the end of the year here. But I probably would say that as of right now, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has always been my favorite, and I think it is still probably my favorite. My second favorite, on the other hand, I think is The Magician's Nephew. From what I can remember, we haven't gotten to that one yet in our reread, so we'll see. But it's normally, yeah, it's been The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Magician's Nephew, and then The Dawn Treader, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I love that one. And after that, it's probably, I remember liking The Horse and His Boy. Maybe Prince Caspian, The Silver Chair. Well, no, I like The Last Battle. Maybe The Last Battle, Prince Caspian, and then The Silver Chair. From what I can remember. I will give an update once I have finished rereading through it all to see if that has changed at all. Okay, next is Hannah's Book Cafe, and she asked one story. She asked us, or me, to tell my and my husband's love story. I don't normally tell this without him, so our love story is also kind of intertwined with his testimony, so I feel like that's why I just like never think of telling it myself. I'm just always like, no, you can, you know, you can take it. But me and my husband actually met when we were working at Chick-fil-A. I was a front of house team leader, and he was my fry guy while I was bagging. And he would flirt with me like every day, all the time. He was like very persistent, we should say. I, for the longest time, thought he was just joking. until he actually like officially like asked me out, and I was like, oh, which I at the time told him no. And I told him no because during some of our little like chit-chatting, joking sessions while he was like doing the fries and I was bagging, he had told me that his family was Mormon, and I was like, oh, red flag, bye-bye. Cute boy. So yes, and then he kept asking me out. He asked me out probably 5 or 6 times before I said yes, and I finally said yes because my coworkers were like, just, you know, like, just say yes, get a good meal out of it. He'll stop asking you once you've gone out once and everything, and you can get a free meal and everything, and you just walk away as friends. And I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'm not looking for anything right now. I was, at the time, still kind of trying, like, I was healing from a hurt friendship, so I wasn't really looking for anything. And so I said yes to him, and he comes to pick me up for the date, and I'm like trying to shoo him out of the door because I like do not want him to meet my family, because I'm like, this is just like a one-time thing. But he like insists on barging in and shaking hands with my dad, which was quite funny to me. And then he ended up well, like I was so embarrassed when he came to the door because my husband was wearing maroon skinny jeans at the time, and I almost bursted out laughing when I saw him. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this boy doing? So yes, he had quite the way of choosing his clothes. And then we're getting in the car. He's a real gentleman about everything. And we're getting in the car, and he's like, where do you want to go? And we had already like discussed, I had already been like, no, just surprise me. Just anything but like Mexican or like Thai food or something like that, because I'm not a big fan of those. And so he's like, do you want to go to a Mexican place? And I was like, oh great, he's batting 1,000, like he doesn't even remember what we talked about and all this. But then he was like, oh wait, no, I'm so sorry. And we ended up going to Olive Garden. And this was like it was my only first date, by the way. My husband was the first boy I ever dated. So had no experience at all. And I am very much like my daddy, and I say it how it is, and I don't like to waste time. So we came. Dog, you're getting in my way. Go lay in your bed, please. Go lay in your bed. So my first date and everything, but yeah, we go to Olive Garden, and I start out the date, and I am what Josh said his dad told him, like, to not be on a first date and to never talk about during dates. He's like, you literally went through everything. My dad was like, never do this. You just came out the back swinging. So I was like, religion, politics, future, family, like marriage. I want to know all of it. I want to know, like, because I ain't wasting time, guys. So I kind of, you know, you think that would have scared him. But my sweet husband, I guess, found it endearing. And he liked that about me. So we actually ended up spending like the whole night talking away at Olive Garden. They actually had to tell us that they were closing in like 20 minutes or something like that. And we were like, oh, oopsie. So we just from the beginning like had such an instant connection and just loved talking. We really did. Our personalities just clicked so well together. So he asked me out again, and I reluctantly said yes. Against my better judgment, I said yes because, again, he was Mormon at this time. So, and we went out and we saw that newer Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch for our second date, and again, he's batting 1,000 with his clothes choices because he's wearing sweatpants that have zippers on them, which before he came, I never knew that was a thing. I was like, what the heck is this? And that was not like good because he actually ended up dropping his keys in the parking lot. Yeah, and don't want to do that. And so he had to run back out and get his keys, which was quite embarrassing for him on a second date. The date went very well though, and he ended up asking me to be his girlfriend, and I reluctantly, again, against my better judgment, said yes. So we ended up dating for a bit, which that was in November. Like I said, yes, right at the end of October finally, and then we went out beginning of November-ish. So, and we dated through like the holidays. And honestly, he was not the best boyfriend at the time. Goodness, dog, what are you doing? Dog is being crazy. He was not a very good boyfriend at all. And he ended up breaking up with me, and I found out later that he had been cheating on me the whole time. So very hard. Again, this was like my first relationship, and you know, I put him through the ringer, so I really thought like, oh, nothing's going to, I thought I was doing good, but that was really hard. And the last thing I wanted to do was to continue to go to work with this boy. We hadn't even dated for like 2 months before he broke up with me. It was like right short of 2 months, I think. And I still had to work with him, so I was still like seeing him every day, and he was still dating the other girl that he had broken up with me for at the time, and she ended up breaking up with him. She broke up with him on Valentine's Day, or the day after Valentine's Day, I can't remember. And it was also like a day or two after his family moved out of the country. So, yes, nowadays I say, oh my goodness, poor thing, but you know, he did deserve that at the time. But after that, I had, you know, been trying to keep my distance and everything for the most part, but I had been feeling like really like you need to just not harbor like hardness in your heart and stuff like that. I had been going to a Bible study, and we had talked about, I can't remember what it was. We were in something. It was like a brand new study. We were doing James before, but then it started a new one. So we had started a new study, and I was like, okay, you know, like, I'm here for it. But one of the first things that we kind of like talked about is how like sometimes God lays things and sometimes people on your heart, and somebody had mentioned how, yeah, and sometimes the people that God lays on our hearts are the last people that we want to be laid on our hearts, and we're kind of like, why can't somebody else do this? Like, you know my history, you know my whatever, like somebody else would be better. And somebody was like, but you know, God, we're not supposed to argue with God. Like, we're supposed to just obey and do as he says and as he leads us to. And that really laid heavy on my heart, because I was like, I felt that. I felt like Josh was the last person I wanted to see. He was the last person I wanted to talk to. But God really laid it on my heart that, no, you need to be showing him my love right now, because he doesn't have anybody else in his life going to do that. He is like trapped in this false religion. And I'm simply just asking you to show him a little bit of love. And so that's what I did. Reluctantly, I just started to like check up on him as like a friend, and I started to like send him Bible verses and stuff. And like I said, his girlfriend broke up with him at that difficult time, and he was, you know, he's kind of lost and everything because his family just left. And so he ended up trying to get back together with me, and I kind of told him, no, I am not getting back together with you after, you know, what you did and how you hurt me. And I was like, but we can be friends. And if you want to be like actual like friends more than just acquaintances and stuff, you can come to church with me. And so him, in hopes of getting back together with me, came to church with me one Sunday, and he has never gone back to a Mormon service ever since. he said that he just like felt completely different, and like something that had been like missing was there. And so after like coming to church with me for a little bit and whatevering, he one of the times that we were hanging out, he asked me if I would help him with like how to accept Jesus into his life, because he didn't want to be a Mormon anymore, and he wanted this Jesus as his savior now. So after that, a little after that, he ended up begging me to take him back. We did, and then we ended up dating maybe like 2 months before he proposed and asked me to marry him. So yes, I don't normally tell that story though, because it is the story of how he found Christ and how he accepted Jesus and how he threw off this false religion that had a hold of him all of his life. And yeah, but it's a wonderful love story. I tell anybody who will ask me, do you believe in miracles and stuff like that? Like when the miracle conversation comes up, I always I look at my husband, or I think of and I see him in my mind, and I'm like, my husband is a walking miracle. He was a dirty, filthy cheater who believed all these awful things. He was not, he was not a good person, but he found Christ, and he is a completely different person. He was changed, saved, redeemed, and just thinking back to how he was when we met and how he is now, it's just completely different. It is seeing somebody come alive. That whole picture of, baptism being thrown, your dead self, and being pulled up as a new creation. My husband is the best example of that I could ever think of what I've seen, because it was just beautiful to see his transition. So that is how we met and got engaged and got married. And I will say that I think we got engaged in April, I want to say, but we didn't announce. No, maybe it was at the very beginning of May. I can't remember. We didn't announce it right away because one of my other friends was getting married, and so we waited until after she got married. I was in the wedding party and everything, because I didn't want to take anything away from her. So we waited until after she had her wedding and everything to go public about it. And we originally had planned a wedding later in the year so that his family could come back for it. While being an okay idea, that was we should have thought through a little bit better, because we were having a really hard time and a lot of temptation, and we did end up slipping up and doing something we shouldn't have done before marriage. And God redeemed that, and he forgave us. We ended up getting married earlier. We still had the ceremony, but we ended up getting married earlier because I became pregnant with our oldest, little Evie. And, that in itself was a redemption, because God saved that. That could have been, that was a sin. And just because he gave us her does not make it not a sin. But he forgave us, redeemed, and gave us this beautiful child. And we've had a lot of hardships in our marriage, but God has really blessed our marriage. So I love him to death, and we have now been married for about 6.5 years, so, which is crazy. All right, so let's go on to the next question. I probably talked way too long for that one, and I apologize. So Pure Joy 7006 says, what is the most beautiful book that you own? And I wish I was upstairs in my book room right now to answer this one. But I think one of the most beautiful books that I have owned would be my Heidi and Black Beauty copies. My newer copies that my husband got me are absolutely gorgeous. I love those. I'll try to put a picture up or something like that of them. Along with that, I'm trying to think think. I don't know. I love my Alice in Wonderland and my Little Woman copies. Just like the classic like bookish look. I just adore that. And then the next question from her is, do you have a favorite childhood book? And I absolutely do. I think my favorite book from childhood is Anne of Green Gables or The Chronicles of Narnia or Little House on the Prairie. Okay, I'm saying so many. Okay, let's explain. So Chronicles of Narnia, my mother read them to us like the first like 12 years of our lives, like several times, over and over. So they were like read alouds, and so until I was a teenager I'd never read them by myself, but there's just something so magical about that. So it's definitely like one of my childhood favorites, the whole series. And then she did the same thing with Little House on the Prairie, and I loved the Little House on the Prairie books. But my own reading, Anne of Green Gables, the first one, my grandmother, my Mimi at the time, she got me a deluxe edition of Anne of Green Gables, and I was 9 years old and I just devoured that thing. It was my absolute favorite, and it's been such a joy to find out as an adult that it's a whole series and I have more to read and to relish in, because it's just a really great memory from my childhood. So okay, and the next is from Mackenzie Mackey Macaroni, quite the name there. The first one is, have you ever had a dream? No, I only have nightmares. Second is, who's your favorite sister? You know, that's a really hard one considering I only have one, and I'm gonna have to say Ian. Yeah. And number 3 is your favorite Christian nonfiction book. That is a really, really hard one. Like a really, really hard one. Oh my goodness. My favorite Christian nonfiction book. I have a few. I'm just gonna start like naming some. Sex, Jesus, and the Conversations the Church Forgot by Mo Eisem is one of my all-time favorite like Christian nonfiction books. It's really short and quick, and it had a lot of impact on me when I first read it, and I've really been itching to reread that one. Another one is The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, a little bit of a different type of Christian nonfiction, but a Christian nonfiction nonetheless. Just an amazing, inspiring story. And then, oh my goodness, and then another one is Unveiling Grace, How We Found Our Way Out of the Mormon Church by Lynn K. Wilder. That has another big impact on me due to my husband, and that book was just so rich and full of stuff. Like, it's so good. Yeah, those are like the 3 that are popping into my mind right off the bat. I'm gonna go with those. Okay, Sammy Reads S4F asks, how has your reading taste changed throughout the years? I'm definitely feeling like more like I want to, like, how do I say this? I definitely feel like I want to read more fulfilling stuff, and that's like something that I talk about with this next year's reading goals too. Look at this pretty wrapping paper, little holly mistletoe. So my intentionality, like I don't want to read as many like fluff books anymore, which I'm a big romance reader, so that's quite different for me, I feel like. But I just don't want to read as many books. I'm not saying I don't want to read any, like, sometimes you need a good palate cleanser or something, just light and fluffy, nothing, you know, whatever. But I want more intentionality with my reading, that's for sure. Honestly, I feel like I've never been, like some others here on BookTube, like I've never had that big problem of like, oh, I'm reading spikes and I'm coming away from it or whatnot. I grew up in a Christian home, so I didn't have as much of a like flip-flop on like that aspect of my reading as some have, but I can still like tell a lot of my reading has like matured and like the intentionality of stuff, and I think maybe that's going to show more when I like start going through some of my old favorites and rereading them and like reevaluating. Like maybe that'll show But I know like one way this has kind of like shown has been Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks was one of my favorite authors growing up, and rereading, well, not even rereading, but just like trying to read some more books of his in the past like years. I haven't liked them because there's been so many like awful stuff in it. That was a weird sound, Bella. There's been like infidelity and just like different things, and I've been like, this isn't actually romantic because like this isn't actual love, right? And I'd never really had that before with his books. I do know, you know, he has some that aren't like that, but like I hadn't been paying that close attention, I guess, to certain tropes and stuff like that. Like if it gave you like whatever feelings, like I wasn't thinking about that as much. And I definitely think part of that is because I'm married now and I am a wife and stuff. So I do think that has definitely influenced my reading a good little bit. And then her second question was, what are your hobbies besides reading? So I'm a big hobby girl, that's for sure. I love to crochet, hence my giant crochet bag over there. I have a whole closet full of bins of yarn too. So I'm very, very into that, and I love doing that so much. I also love to bake. It's not something that I do quite as often, just to, you know, time, little children and time, kind of make baking a little bit less of a hobby sometimes, but it's still always been one of like my favorite things, and that is something I'm excited for about the holiday season, is I actually get to do all the fun baking and everything, and it's like part of our schedule. That's what I should just do. I should just make baking part of the schedule like once a week or something to like get it back in. I also I love to sing. I don't sing in front of people very often, but I love to sing. I grew up a theater nerd, so I acted and sang in musicals and stuff like that. But doing it in kind of a more like solo type of setting, or even nowadays, like I don't know if it's just because I got older and I didn't do it for a few years, but like singing in front of people just kind of makes me nervous. But I love to sing. You can ask my husband. I belt out show tunes and worship songs in the car all the time, so those are like my go-tos. So yeah, I think those are like my main hobbies though. I'm not big on like working out, honestly. I like to dance. I grew up doing Highland dancing, actually, Scottish Highland dancing. I don't really do that type of dancing anymore. I've been trying to like remind myself of some of it though lately, because my girls want to learn it, and I think their Mimi is probably going to teach them that. But so I do like to dance, so that's never been like, you know, that's just like a casual thing. And I enjoy like walking. I'm not like big on doing excessive amounts of stuff, but I do enjoy walking. And I think that I don't do this very often, but especially when like all my family's together or something like that, I love to do a like pickup game of soccer, because I grew up playing soccer. So I'm not sure if you would call that a hobby, because I don't really do it consistently, but there's that. That's what I do. That's what I do for fun. I do a lot of books and crochet and baking mainly, and singing and some dancing here and there. So yes, I'm all over the place. I don't play an instrument though. And then Molly J Books asks, what is my faith journey? So I grew up a Christian, Molly. I don't have a like crazy whatever, like come to Jesus, whatever like my husband does, I don't feel like, but I did grow up, and I was actually sexually abused when I was younger for a good bit of my childhood. And because of that, I definitely had some rebellious stages, and definitely was not like walking the walk, even though I consistently went to church and all that. After moving away from my hometown when I was 16 and going to a brand new place, we found a church that had a wonderful youth program and had the absolute like best youth pastor I could ever imagine having. He was amazing and very helpful in my faith journey for sure, and he talked exactly like Owen Wilson. Is the first thing I said to my brother when we walked in. I was like, that man sounds like Owen Wilson. So, and I still stand to that to that day, to this day. So there was that. But after going there and everything and starting to actually like, you know, I was taken away from a lot, and I was kind of just really lonely. And because of that, oh my goodness, little baby's waking up. I felt really secluded and really lonely, and I was just not in a good place. But going to that church and starting to actually have people like hear about my walk with Christ really helped me. And I do remember having kind of a like breakdown moment when I was like 17, of just crying out and being like, I want to stop feeling like a piece of garbage, and I want to like start being your daughter and stuff. And ever since then, I feel like I've really actually had a relationship with him and have been so much happier, and definitely felt a big part of myself healed in that moment. So that is, I guess what I would say is my faith journey, I guess. I hope that I like did that right. So, and then Molly also asked if I have a favorite book that I would always recommend, other than the Bible, of course, to others. Well, I'm glad you put that caveat, because I definitely would have said the Bible, besides the Bible. I feel like this isn't the nicest thing, but I feel like I'm always telling people to read Jurassic Park. I guess I just want people to be like wounded and horrified and like emotionally, yeah, I've realized after kind of recommending some books that I like to read some books that might be kind of damaging and hard for others, and I apologize for that. I like good deep stuff, although not to say that Jurassic Park is deep. Jurassic Park is just amazing, okay? But it's horror, so it's a lot. But I've definitely done Jurassic Park. And I think besides that, I've gone with some classics, Anne of Green Gables and Little Woman. I have recommended like a lot. I feel like those are like the three that I remember recommending the most just off the top of my head and been like, oh, you have to read this. So I'd probably go with one of those. All right, and then the last one is from Joshua Writing 3144. That's so funny because I'm married to a Joshua Writing. Love you, honey. And he asked, how many lows could Rob Lowe rob if Rob Lowe's could rob Lowe's? 2. Exactly 2. And his other question is, at what point is a book too long? I gotta say, that's a hard question, because I feel like for me, a book feels long, or I say a book is long if it's over 400 pages, okay? And if a book is too long, honestly, I don't read a lot of books that are over 500 pages, so I feel like the 500 to 600 pages, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like way too long. But for me, like long starts at 400. I'm just, I guess, not a huge like big book reader, but then at the same time, Little Woman is one of my favorites, and I'm pretty sure my copy is like 500 to 600 pages. So, you know, I know that's just kind of like, it's just kind of like everybody's own personal opinion, but that's like just what I think in my mind. Is I definitely start to think of it as being long once it reaches 400 pages. So, all right, my baby is waking up and crying, and I am done with a good set of presents. So I went through the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this little chatty vlog. If you have any more questions for me, always feel free to ask away. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas with your families. Thanks for joining me and wrapping some presents with me and listening to me blabber for way too long, probably. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.